Hey everyone, and welcome to my July TBR Assemble. This is going to be a really quick video because it is currently the coolest day we have had in a while, so I'm trying to get this video done very quickly. So let's just get right into the roles and exactly what I'm reading. So today we're going to be using a mixture of two counters because Spider-Man Brand New Day is out, as well as X-Men 97, and I just couldn't resist. So we're going to start with the Spider-Man, and we're going to start on 50, which is where we were last time, and I've just knocked that over. There we go. Right, let's go. Roll number 1 is a 2, so we're going that way. So 1, 2, that is the Power Stone, so that is fantasy. Let's have a look. I'm going to go this side here, and with this one, Agatha Witchy. Not what I originally had in mind, but I'm sure I can figure something out on that one. My first prompt was Agatha Harkness, which is to read something witchy, so I'm going for The Shadow Cabinet by Juno Dawson, which is the second book in the HMRC series. This is admittedly actually a reread for me, because I read The Shadow Cabinet for the first time earlier this year, if I remember rightly. At the very least, it was sometime in the last year anyway, but I've been loving rereading HMRC this month in June, and I really want to carry on with that throughout July and August as well, because I have been loving going back through, rereading the story again and picking up on all of the foreshadowing and things I just didn't notice the first time round, and I want to carry on with that, so that's what I'm going to be reading for my audiobook this month for this prompt. Roll number 2 is a 6, so we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is retellings with the Reality Stone. That was a reasonable fan, actually. I thought that was a lot worse than it actually was. I'm going to go over here. I used to have nothing. A book from the priority list. That is exactly what I need right now. Next up was a book from the priority list, which was also a retelling, so I'm going for Beasts and Beauty Dangerous Tales by Saman Chainani, and I apologise right now if I have mispronounced his name, but this is actually 12 short stories, all based around fairy tales, and they are all meant to be a kind of like dark and twisted take on those fairy tales, and this is actually a book I've been wanting to read for about 5 or 6 years now, I think it is. It's been a very long time either way, and I just haven't had time to read it up until now, so that is what I'm going to be doing. Also, this is actually a short story collection, like I said, and I feel like that's going to be really useful this month, just because I'm here, there and everywhere. I have a McFly show, I've also got a couple of trips out with family this month, I've then also got as well a trip to see Heathers, and then obviously Spider-Man is also happening this month, so it's very busy because I've got a lot of content that I also need to be making around Spider-Man and also X-Men as well, thinking about it. So I think it's going to be really good to have a short story collection on this TBR, so I can kind of dip in and out of it whenever I get 5 minutes within the month. We've now swapped over to Eric. Let's go. Roll number 4 is a 4, conveniently enough, and we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, and that is graphic novels with the Time Stone, which I really need, to say the least, because I have a lot of graphic novels I want to read this month. And I'm going to go inside this little clump here, and I'm going to go for this one. Stephen Grant, a nerdy character. I know exactly who I'm reading for this, Peter Parker. Next up was Nerdy Character Comic, and I've got a few that I could use for this one, so I'm just going to mention them all here because they are all comics and all things I'm going to be reading this month for Spider-Man Brand New Day, because like I said, it is out this month and I have a lot of comics to do with this film that I want to be reading. Specifically, there is the Spider-Man Brand New Day run by Dan Slott, because this run is apparently the inspiration for this movie, so I'm definitely going to be reading that. There is also Spider-Man The Other, and that one is by J. Michael Straczynski, Peter David and Reginald Hudlin. There's planes going past. Okay, then ignore the planes, but that one is one I also want to be reading because that is also the basis of Spider-Man mutating, which is obviously also happening in this movie. I then also have Spider-Man Crime and Punishment, which also features Peter teaming up with Punisher, which is obviously happening in the movie. And then also there is Immortal Hulk by Tom Taylor, which again I think is actually a basis for the movie in a lot of ways, so I want to be reading that one. And then also there is as many Hulk comics as possible in the Philip Kennedy Johnson run, I think it is. I will put the covers here so you can see which one I am on about, but I also want to read a lot from this run as well because I have heard amazing things about it. It is also very kind of spooky horror-y kind of feeling, which is something I definitely want to be reading as well this month because July is summer-ween and I just want it to be October and Halloween right now, and I feel like these are going to be a really good one to get me in that kind of spooky summer-ween mood. Then the final roll is a 3, so we're going 1, 2, 3. That is another set of graphic novels. Perfect, because I have a lot, like I said, I need to be reading this month. I'm going to go into this clump here again. It's Clobbering Time, a comic I really want to read. Absolute perfection. And then my final prompt was a comic I cannot wait to read, and this one is actually going to be X-Men Age of Apocalypse, which I'm going to be reading throughout the month and then also into August as well, because that is going to be the basis of X-Men 97, which is also coming out in July, so naturally I want to be reading that and getting into this event. It is one I've wanted to read for about 7 or 8 years, I think it is. It's been a very, very long time, and to be perfectly honest with you, I have been a little bit intimidated by it just because there are so many tie-in issues and everything else with it, but I've finally figured out the full reading order for it, so I'm finally going to be giving it a read, and I cannot wait. I've heard amazing things about this run. It is basically where Apocalypse, well, takes over from what I can tell, and that just sounds like a whole load of fun. It sounds like it's going to be one hell of a ride. I know it's going to be one hell of a ride because, like I said, this is a very, very famous run and it is the basis for X-Men 97, which is going to be very dramatic, so I'm very, very excited to also be reading this one. And then finally there are a few other books I also want to be putting on this TBR because at the moment it's a little bit comic book heavy, which is great, but I do want to be reading a few more novels as well. And the first one is Binti the Night Masquerade by Nnedi Okorafor, because I have had this on my list for absolutely ages now and it has finally come available at my library again, so I've jumped on the chance. I'm finally going to be reading this one. It is the final one in the Binti series, which I have had open for about 4 years now, and I really want to get this finished, so I'm going to be reading this one as well this month. Then we have the next book in the Shauna Maguire Encrypted series. This one is Imaginary Numbers, and this one is following Sarah, who is essentially a cousin of the Price family, and she is actually a psychic and a cryptid as well. I don't really know much else about this one because I kind of go into these ones with that much knowledge, but I'm very excited to see Sarah take the forefront once again. She hasn't really had a full POV since book 3 or 4, I think it was. I think it was book 4. Either way, it's been a very, very long time, and so I'm very excited to see her finally take the spotlight again and actually get an entire book to herself, so very, very excited for that. And then finally there is The Lost Girls by Sonia Hartle, and this one I'm just going to read you the tagline for because I think it sums it up pretty well. It just says, "Getting over your vampire ex is as easy as killing him and stealing his girlfriend," and that just sounds like it's going to be a whole load of fun and right up my alley. I'm in a real vampiric mood at the moment, and this feels like it's going to be the perfect, really quick read that I'm going to need in the middle of a very, very, very busy month. And that is the end of my July TBR, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up. Comment down below, tell me what you're reading in July. I'd love to know, especially if you are taking part in Summerween, or if you don't have that much time, leave me, I'm going to say, a vampire emoji down below to let me know that you were here. I'll also leave a link as well down below to all my social media if you want to check it out, including to the Comic Book Sanctum, which is my website and YouTube channel dedicated to Marvel Comics if you want to get to know Peter Parker, Punisher or Hulk or anybody else that's going to be in Spider-Man Brand New Day better. All of that will be linked down below. Or if you just want to see more of my videos where I'm going to be talking more about books, please click subscribe here, and over here will be the link to my previous video. But until next time everyone, bye!